Munro Live is here in Laguna Beach in California. We're here to witness the R2 reveal.
Yes.
And not only did we get to see the R2S, but its two companions, the R3 and R3X, which was totally surprising to me.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I had bets it was going to be the R2T.
Yep.
I was wrong. It was super exciting anyway. It was absolutely just amazing. And so now I couldn't think of a better way to end my day than having to speak with you. So thank you for taking the time.
Well,
I really do appreciate it. So first, I will say that Sandy sends his regrets. He really wanted to be here, but personally, I'm selfish. I'm glad I'm here because I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
So we had this big reveal.
Yep.
And there was a lot of excitement in the room. It was an amazing event. And I was curious, what were, since you maybe had a chance to talk to some of the people after the reveal, what were the impressions? What was the reception like?
Yeah, I mean, I spent a lot of time thinking about exactly that question and sort of hoping for a certain type of reception, hoping that the thousands of decisions we're making around what the product is and how we package it, the trade-offs, that would resonate. Mm-hmm. And you go into something like this, and the night before you're sitting there saying, boy, I hope people see what we think we see. Mm-hmm. And to have such a positive reaction around R2, but also to see the reaction around its platform sibling R3 was really moving. It was really, it was just amazing. And to have it through so many different perspectives, through the perspective of some of our existing owners, through the perspective of some of our core investors, some of my closest friends, my dad. Just having that level of excitement, and we see it. I mean, seeing the massive wave of reservations coming in, that's cool. And that was the goal with Rivian to launch first with a flagship, but then introduce something that was a lot more accessible and allowed a lot more people to get into the vehicles. So it's been a great day. It's been
has been.
It's been a journey, emotional journey as well.
It was absolutely amazing. So we had the live stream out there. It's like 30 minutes long. But for those people who aren't going to maybe go through the whole duration of watching that, this is probably a really tough question. Are there some key takeaways that say, if there's anything I want you to know about our Rivian, the R2, R3, whatever it is, what would be that key takeaway today?
When you develop a product, as you know so well, there's so many trade-offs you have to make. And so you have to have a really clear point of view as to what you want it to be. Otherwise it ends up becoming sort of like mush.
Right.
And so for us, there's a few big drivers, but the biggest is making sure that the products really enable people to go do whatever their adventure is. And so the focus on being able to comfortably fit a lot of people, store their stuff, do it in a really thoughtful way where it feels there's a sense of occasion just to use the vehicle. And to now do that in a smaller form factor with R2, that's how we think about it. So every decision, does it ladder up to enabling, and we say enabling and inspiring the kinds of things you want to remember for decades to come. And so some of the features, like the flashlight coming out of the door, it's this surprise and delight feature, or now the double glove boxes, which is a response to some of the feedback from R1. There are these little features, but in aggregate form really this beautiful mosaic of something that becomes your partner in going and experiencing life and taking on life.
This video is brought to you by Anker and their new MagGo wireless charging station. The MagGo wireless charging station is the ultimate companion for your Apple ecosystem, allowing you to charge your iPhone, AirPods, and Apple Watch all at the same time. All of the modules are MagSafe compatible for a hassle-free wireless charging experience. And when you're not charging, they can be folded up for easy storage. The compact size of the MagGo wireless charging station is true to our values of lean design, but it doesn't compromise on capability. Thanks to its 15-watt ultra-fast charging, you get a lot of power in not a lot of time. Its size also makes it the perfect travel companion, so you can stay charged no matter where in the world you are. Best of all, the MagGo wireless charging station is designed to keep your devices safe, equipped with advanced temperature control, overvoltage protection, and many more unique safety features. You don't have to worry about heat or damage while you charge. Use the link and discount code in the description to get your own MagGo wireless charging station from Anker today.
I was thinking about this because, I have an R1T,
Yeah.
right? And I always think about this, and I was really pondering, and I couldn't get the answer. But so I was thinking about the buyer demographic and the demographic and the persona that you're the buyer persona. And so Sandy brings home an R1T.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not a pickup truck girl.
Yeah.
I'm like, whatever. I see the car and I really like it, right?
Yeah.
I get in the car and then you begin to experience it, and the next thing you know, you're in love with this car. Okay, I'm in love with my truck. I really am. I had to tell you, I love the styling. I love the sophistication, the elegance, the performance. There's nothing I don't like about my Rivian truck. And if I think about your persona, your buyer persona, I think of somebody who's like this adventuresome person, the outdoorsy type, and I'm just kind of like this nerdy, kind of geeky engineer. I do not see how I fit into your buyer persona. And it really confuses me. I don't know who you're going after, because I wouldn't have thought you would ever reach me, not me. And I'm trying to see how that persona is going to move from the R1 to the R2 to the R3. Are you capturing truly different personas, or is it can't just be a simple?
It's so interesting to hear you talk through that, because if I had to pick a single word that we say more than anything else across the design studio and our engineering, design reviews. It's around creating a product that's incredibly inviting. The word inviting.
I like that.
And inviting, it can be interpreted in lots of ways, but it means it's really easy to use. It's really friendly to use. It feels friendly to interact with, but it also doesn't feel friendly in a weak way.
Right.
And so even into what the face of a Rivian looks like, it has a friendliness to it, but it's still bold.
Right.
And it's easy to go bold and unfriendly, and look mean.
Yeah.
But it's bold
Inviting.
and friendly and inviting.
Yeah.
And so that manifests into every aspect of what we do as a company. So in the vehicles, making sure that the floor mats are easy to clean, making sure that when you step on the side sill, it invites you to step on it.
Right.
Making sure that even in how we message performance, that it doesn't feel like it scares away someone that doesn't want an 835 horsepower
Right.
vehicle. Like, it's a very powerful vehicle.
It is.
And even in like our physical spaces, they're nicely executed, but we would never want them to feel like you're going into an environment where you felt uncomfortable keeping your shoes on, or you felt like you were going to break something, or it was too precious. So making something that's really desirable but not precious or not overwhelming was really an objective. And I think in a world of a lot of technology, in a world of electrification, it's sometimes hard to do that. You can overwhelm with too much features or too much tech in your face, and you want the technology to enable everything, but to be your friend and not be sort of hitting you in the face with it. And so that's how we've approached it. And what we've seen, which is so interesting hearing how this is in your head, is it's not as if we have one single type of buyer. It's not like our buyer is this age, this demographic, this socioeconomic background. It's such a broad mix.
Okay.
And that was the goal. Like if I wind the clock back with R1, we said, this is our flagship, this is going to be our handshake. We said we would like to be in a world where in the end, we'd look at all of our customers and they're so diverse. And the reason that's important is the diversity of our customer set helps make sure that the brand doesn't become in any way linked to a specific personality. So it's not idiosyncratic to one type of person, but it represents this idealism and this hopefulness that I think is a basic human trait that carries across so many different demographics.
It's amazing. I always wanted to know the answer to that question, so that's kind of cool. So we'll switch a little bit to more technical stuff. So R2, R3, R3X, all new architecture. So they say all new underpinnings, but all new, not necessarily, right? Because there's always some carryover components, and I don't know what percentage that is, but if you were to define like all new, what would have been like the iconic all new things, other than those three unique selling propositions that you have with the vented windows, the flat folding seats? Those are just like, cool, right? But in terms of like all new, what were like the major all new things?
At the platform level, just the vehicle architecture has changed a lot. And a lot of things that, you all have looked at, the Munro's looked at, around cost opportunities, we've really optimized. So some of redundant structures we had in R2, or in R1, we've eliminated in R2. The battery pack's probably most significant. It's using a much larger diameter cell.
Right.
And we have 3 large modules of the same size.
Okay.
The pack's structural. The top of the pack is actually the floor of the vehicle. And then as you look, if you sort of follow the flow of electrons, the drive units are leveraging a lot of the content that we've developed in our new in-house drive units, which you've also done a teardown on.
Yeah.
But those in-house drive units, we're using the rotor stator, a lot of the technology from it, but applying it into an R2 package.
Okay.
And so it really reduced the risk of launch. We're able to do another iteration on the design of the whole drive unit assembly from a cost. Some of the things we even talked about, that Sandy and I even talked about being implemented in R2. And then moving into the interior, very familiar in terms of the layout. 2 screens, center touch screens, your primary interface point. But then you saw the scroll wheels on the steering wheel, which are on R1.
Yeah.
But I would love for you to feel them. They're
I have yet.
software-defined haptics, so that it's beautiful haptics. They feel so, the clicks of the way it scrolls up and down and tilts back and forth. It's like magic. But because it's software-defined, it allows us to have whatever feature, whatever interface you're in, whether it's volume or drive mode, they feel different.
Oh, cool.
And so, if you look at it now today, you have to sort of know, did I press this once, which area I'm in? Now there's a secondary confirmation of what's happening because of the haptics.
All right.
So again, it's just taking a lot of the things that worked well in R1 and really curating it, really refining it, and in many cases finding ways to take meaningful cost out, but not in a way that a customer would feel like I'm getting a lot less.
Right.
Yeah.
That's good. That's awesome. So I was thinking about the Georgia facility, and you had mentioned the R2 is going to go into the normal facility, which is great because if it accelerates the launch, I'm great with that. But I was checking out some social media, and I don't know, I want you to clarify this. So the rumor has it on the social media, it says that you have actually halted the Georgia plant. And I'm like, is that really what you wanted to communicate, or I just wasn't sure, because I didn't actually hear that.
So what, I'm glad you asked because we can clarify. So our number one objective is to get R2 into market as quickly as possible. And then also for us as a company to achieve profitability as quickly as possible. And so being able to pull R2 forward in time and also being able to spend less money to launch it. What we've said now publicly today is $2.25 billion less to launch it in Normal than in Georgia.
Right.
But the capacity we have in Normal is going to be more limited.
Yeah.
And so it's a great way to launch the product, do it efficiently.
Perfect.
But Georgia becomes our scaling plant. And it's really, in terms of, if you think about where the vast majority of our R2s will be produced in the long term, it'll remain the Georgia site. But we're inserting some stagger. So we'll first launch in Normal, and then we'll have Georgia. And so what that means is there's a pause in Georgia, but it's a pause.
Not shuttered.
We're deeply committed to the state. The governor of the state of Georgia have been outstanding partners to us, and we remain really excited about the work that we're doing there. But it's just sequencing that all, and the way I'd characterize it is what's most important for the state of Georgia and most important for all of our owners and enthusiasts is that we build a really healthy Rivian. And a healthy, successful Rivian means let's get R2 to market as fast as we can. Let's call it phase 0.5, where we get a lot of R2s out into the world as we then bring up our Georgia site.
It's good to hear. I'm glad you clarified that, because I was reading it and I'm thinking, not so sure
I heard
about that.
I had another session with someone, and I haven't had a chance to look at any of the social
I didn't
media.
either. I just happened to
They said, I saw this. I'm like, boy,
that's
like
a
a game of
mystery.
telephone. Like it's like.
Is that what he said?
Yeah.
I love it. So let's talk a little bit about technology. I know that there's not a lot of it revealed. We talked a little bit about the batteries, and we'll get to that in a second. But I was thinking about as we go into the R2 and the R3s, there's been a lot of movement in the industry for 800 volt, 48 volt types of things. Is this something that you're investigating and thinking about?
We're definitely looking at the longer term. For R2, we wanted to leverage a lot of the capabilities we had and also keep the high voltage architecture as simple as possible. And for this size of vehicle, leveraging some of that content that's going to be going into the vehicles in the next few months with some of the updates, and as I talked about, sharing like the rotor and the stator from the motor. And then on the low voltage side, the 48 volt really helps if you're doing steer-by-wire or brake-by-wire. We're not doing steer-by-wire, brake-by-wire, so we're maintaining a 12 volt architecture. But where we see big savings is, and this is something Sandy and I even talked about a lot, must have been about 2 years ago, is some of the ECU consolidation.
Okay.
So because we control the design of all the computers in the vehicle, we've been able to move to a much smaller number of computers. Where we have like a front left, a front right, a rear left, a rear right, that do all the functions. It's not domain based or function based, but rather zonal. So it's it sort of works on that zone of the vehicle, and that allows us to take thousands of dollars of cost out relative to what you'd see with a more traditional architecture.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so we have the 800 volt, and then as we go forward, I know we have the NACS charger port, which is great. I love that. I noticed that it moved to the back, which I'm like, oh, I had to back on my car now, but that's okay. All right. So I was thinking, because this has been announced before, that we would be doing V2V, V2H, bidirectional kind of stuff. Is that something we might expect to see on the future models?
Bidirectional charging, especially for home backup, for sure. It's,
perfect.
And integrated in with the AC charger, so you can. It's very simple. We also think there's the opportunity for bidirectional DC charging, which requires a in-house bidirectional DC charger. So that's more equipment in the house, but that would allow you to charge even faster. But at a baseline, having bidirectional AC, we think is really important.
Good.
And that'll be included in R2.
I would hope to see that. Maybe if there was such a thing as an over-there update on the R1, just let me know when it's coming. I'd love that. So the one thing I wanted to ask was the 4695. So you could have picked 4680. I assume you picked 4695 for energy density, for quicker charging. You have the space.
The package
allows it.
Allows it in. We sort of wanted to fit the biggest cell we could in this in the floor that we have. And so 4695 is a nice balance. It also thermally, as you start to get any taller than that, you start to run into thermal gradient issues across the cell, across the height of the cell. But the 4695 is a really nice balance, and it's super cost efficient.
Perfect. Just a few more questions. I was thinking about Rivian as an EV company. So there's a lot of EV companies out there. Some are thriving, some are surviving. So Rivian must do some type of benchmarking to know how you stand competitively out in the marketplace. So what are you benchmarking? How do you get some information that says, yeah, I think we're going to be in this great competitive space. This is a good niche for us.
For like on the market side?
Anywhere, performance, market, just like your whole offering.
Well, product-wise, we have the benefit of seeing what others are doing or what they've announced. I think the challenge I see with electrification accelerating to the degree that it needs to is there's not enough great choices. So I as someone that wants to see the world electrify, I think we actually need more choices, particularly in this price range. Today the Model Y, the Tesla has some great choices, but I think there needs to be very different brand presentations, product attributes, vehicle form factors that exist at similar price points so that customers can say, hey, I love the Tesla, but I want something that's more SUV-like, right? Or I want something that's more crossover-like, which is R3. So I think choice is going to be really key, and we watch that, and it's wonderfully motivating to see when others are pushing on cost or technology. It just, a rising tide helps everyone.
Right.
As it relates to cost, which drives price, we are seeing, for us as a company, a big wave of innovation, because that's just such a focus point, given all the pains we've gone through in ramping R1, to simplify designs, consolidate parts, eliminate parts that are not necessary. And that manifests really fully in R2. We had the benefit of being a clean sheet. With R1, we continue to make progress and improvements, but it's off of an existing platform, whereas R2, we said we're going to make a smaller platform. It needs to hit this price. To do that, the bill of materials needs to look like this. It must, if you're going to hit that price. And it led to great innovations around some of the work that we're doing. And I'll give you a good example that's maybe not immediately visible. The rear door on the R1S, it has a full drop glass, but to accomplish that, we have a fixed glass portion with a div bar. We're Whereas in R2, we sized the vehicle such that, and the wheelbase and the closures, such that we have a full drop glass, but there's no fixed glass or div bar.
Right.
And so it looks really cool,
Yeah.
but it also gets rid of a div bar,
Yep.
the corner muckets around that, all the sealing around that. So it takes a lot of parts and complexity out, and customers will look at it and be like, something looks cool about that. There's no fixed glass, because every car normally has a fixed glass.
It's at that free flow, yeah.
Yeah, so it looks really clean and simple. And so it's actually, I would say, a customer benefit, but it required a lot of iteration. We had to like change the wheelbase and adjust the wheel, so a lot of work to get to a simpler door. And those are the kinds of things we're driving into R2 to get to the $45,000 price point.
Wow, you're doing a great job. I'll close with one question here. What are you most proud of on the R2?
The way we were able to capture the essence of Rivian,
Did a good job.
and it really feels like a Rivian,
Yeah, it does.
in a smaller package, and then still improve a lot of aspects. The rear seat comfort is outstanding, best in class for the size of vehicle. The front seat comfort is outstanding. So to
It
do all that,
always has been, in my opinion.
and it's really good in R2.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't feel like, well, the vehicle's smaller, it has doesn't have all the tricks up our sleeve in terms of suspension and chassis, but it really feels special. It still feels like a really special vehicle that didn't lose the charm that makes a Rivian.
I think you guys did an amazing job.
Oh, well, thank you.
I really wish you the best here.
Thanks so much, dude. Yeah, it's
Thank
really
you.
nice to spend time.
Thanks for your time.
Yeah, appreciate it.